Alright, here we are in RAM platform. So right now we're on the Fleetmap, which is home of our live tracking and kind of key insights section. Before we jump into it, I'll just give you a little bit of a lay of the land of some of the different modules and functionality we've got in the platform. Up the top here, we've got access to all our different modules, a few of which we'll cover today. On the right side here, we've got access to things like our profile, our support, and a little drop-down menu that contains some other things like workflows. On the right side here, we've got our map where we can see the current location of all our assets in the fleet. Obviously, it's hopefully looking familiar. It's based on Google Maps. We'll jump into that in a second. On the left, we've got a list of all our assets which are currently on board the platform. A key thing to note, and this makes RAM platform a little bit different, is that all the assets we're looking at in this list might not necessarily have the same device or even a device. Once again, it's all about bringing the whole fleet together in one place. Some of these might have asset trackers, some of these might have cameras or vehicle trackers, or some of these might have a combination. And the beauty of RAM platform is the way that we run our asset management and maintenance allows you to track things that don't even have a device. So some of these things in the fleet we might not even be tracking, but once again, they're all in the same place. Let's go ahead and turn our attention to the map and let's zoom in on an asset, maybe this guy here, local fleet 2. First of all, if I want to zoom in and get a really good idea of what he's currently up to, I absolutely can. Let's go ahead and toggle on some of our map layers, make it a little bit more interesting. Say we switch to satellite, and we're starting to get a better picture of where this asset is currently located. There's lots of different overlays you can activate on RAM platform, including things like traffic, weather overlays, and other important information. But for now, let's go ahead and change it back to default. Expand that back out, and let's tap on this asset and take a look. When we do this, we can see some important information. So we've got the name of the asset here, the group that he currently belongs to. We can see the street address, or if it's inside a geofence we've made, it'll show the name of the geofence. If he was on the move, it would show us his current speed. And if you're using the driver management functionality, it's going to show you who's currently behind the wheel. So with driver management, there's a few different ways you can assign a driver, whether that be at a fleet management level through the portal that we're looking at now, or you can also get your drivers to download the iOS or Android RAM McNally app, and they can assign themselves to fleet vehicles from there. The timestamp is going to show us the current time, or the last time that we heard from this particular asset. And if we go ahead and hit history, it's just going to give us a nice overview of what this vehicle's been doing the last 24 hours or so. So important thing to note on RAM platform is that all your data is stored indefinitely. If you want to access it through your reports and go back to 1 year ago, 3 months ago for this particular asset, you absolutely can. But the fleet map is all about making it useful in the moment. What's useful for you in your day-to-day operations. So what we're looking at here is the last 24 hours of history for this particular asset. And it plays a bit like a YouTube video. So we can go ahead and scrub through. The little blue graph that you can see down the bottom there, that represents speed. But I can also change that speed to be different parameters that we're receiving from the vehicle. So maybe I want to see the RPM or the engine temperature or anything like that. I can start to overlay and really investigate what's been going on with this vehicle. Another key thing that this functionality will do is it will start to overlay important things on top of the breadcrumb trail. So for example here we can see these blue squares. These are nice simple stops, so they're telling us when the vehicle arrived and stopped at a location, what time it departed. Perhaps this is a customer site or a particular delivery that we had to do. But other things will populate on the map as well, depending on the combination of devices that you're using. If you have RVT camera, for example, it might display important driver behavior events, things like distracted driving, using the cell phone, speeding, or if you're using a GX6 vehicle tracker, it might be things like harsh braking, harsh acceleration. Once again, it doesn't matter what you're tracking and what device you're using it, it's showing you the information in the same way and helping you get the key insights you need. Let's go ahead and jump back to the map now, and we'll mix it up a bit, and let's have a quick look at geofencing. So let's jump to the fences tab. We go ahead and hit fence management. If you're familiar with geofencing, it basically allows you to highlight a particular area on the system that's of importance. And that leads to some other functionality. Say you want to report on how long you've spent in a particular fence, you want to log your interactions when you enter and leave a geofence, or maybe you want to do some really cool stuff, which we'll get to a little bit later, which is start to set up some automatic alerts and automation when your vehicles interact with these fences. But for now, let's focus on how to actually create a geofence. If you're familiar with some other platforms out there, perhaps in the past you might have to import geofences using lat and long coordinates. It's normally a big old spreadsheet that you've got to put into the system. We can support that if you like, but the beauty of RAM Platform is that you can actually draw geofences directly onto the map as you go. So if we go ahead and select one of our geofence tools here, we've got our different creation shapes we can use. I might actually switch it to satellite so we can get a better overview of what we're trying to geofence. And let's say, for example, that this particular parking lot we've got here is one of our depot sites. All I got to do is click and drag and connect up those points, and we've got a geofence. I can go ahead and give it a name. I can change the color. I can give it a description. Now when any one of my assets enter this particular fence, first of all, it's going to tell me, it's going to create an event, but I can start to combine it with some other functionality like my reports and report on how long I've spent in this particular fence, or maybe I want to receive an SMS, and I can set that up via drag and drop in our workflows. So geofences, hopefully something that you might be familiar with in the industry. The key thing on RAM Platform is just how easy they are to use. It's a lot of fun to create them, and you can create as many as you like. Let's jump back to the map now. And the last thing we'll just cover before we move on to the next section, which is our asset maintenance and management portal, is we'll just drop down our filters and we'll start to give you a bit of an idea of how you can start to reflect your organization and your fleet in RAM Platform. First of all, on the left here, we have access to all our different groups. A lot of our customers like to group their fleet and vehicles together, maybe by where the depot they go back to at the end of the night, by who's in charge of that particular group of assets. This is really about helping to reflect the structure of your organization. In the middle here, these colorful labels, these things are called tags. They start off very simple. It's a bit like the old label maker. You can say, okay, this is a diesel truck, this is a heavy haulage truck, this is a generator. But once again, it gets a little bit more richer in functionality. You can start to use these to control visibility as well. So you might have particular tags that you say only particular people in the business can view these assets. It's a really powerful way you can start to control visibility. On the right side here, we've got some more standard stuff like what type of asset it is, but you can also filter by if it's on the move or if it's stationary and you want to investigate why it's not on the road. So that brings us to the end of a little bit of a quick tour of the Fleetmap and live tracking. And now we can go ahead and jump into our assets module and take a look there.